Hi everyone, how are you going this Friday afternoon? I am checking in and doing a bit of a live just before I go and start my weekend, and just thought I'd see how things have been travelling for you. I haven't done one of these for a little while, so welcome back to my lives in 2022. Been a bit of a crazy start to the year. I think we've been saying this every year for the last 3 now. And just wanted to see how things are going for you and your family. With the start of school, we've had a few weeks in, and I know there's been a few disruptions and things that have been happening. And so, just wanted to touch base and see what's on your agenda at the moment. I know with families and people that I've been talking to, certainly the beginning of the school year is sometimes a rosy start to the year when kids are a bit enthusiastic about getting back at school. And then sometimes the challenges begin to happen. But also this time of year, of course, we've had lots of cases of COVID happening in our local area. And so there's lots of different kids leaving classrooms and isolations and things like that. So more disruptions that are happening for sort of individual families at a time. We were fortunate to so far have that disruption happen before our term started for our kids. So but families are in the thick of it now, and trying to get routine and everything established, and sometimes that's really, really tricky to do. So the other thing, I suppose, that thinking about with education returning is chatting to families about the plans for any individual support plans or individual learning plans, as they're sometimes called, that you may need to make sure that your child is getting the support that they need throughout their school year. So in most education systems, there can be students who qualify under the Students with Disabilities and Impairments program, that it sometimes is called. I think this name changes from different states. That's the name that Victorian state education system has. And that families who have a child who is getting some sort of funding or recognition of the support needs there, they have a plan written up by the parents, by the teachers, by the head of the learning and wellbeing, whoever that is in your school, and each term that those goals get looked at and reviewed as the year progresses. So if your child is under that program, then that should be happening now. And if that hasn't been suggested to you, I really encourage you to ask about that. Now, what families sometimes don't know is that even those families that aren't a member or don't have funding under that program or any kind of official kind of supports at schools, they can still request a student support group be convened, and that student support group usually consists of parents, the teachers, classroom teacher, wellbeing, like I said before, and they can still have an individual learning plan or a individual education plan developed for them. So you don't have to be a student who has funding. Your child does not have to receive funding to get those plans in place for yourself and your child. There is guidelines, particularly in the Victorian education system, that just say that your child has maybe diverse learning needs or needs some sort of separate plan done, and that basically there's a need there. So you can request that if you're not automatically being told you're eligible for that. So if you already have maybe sensory supports that are needed to be implemented, sensory breaks, or there's some individualization of the learning that has been done in the past and will be required, but you don't have an official sort of diagnosis recognised within the school, or they don't qualify for funding under any of the programs within your education state or system, then it doesn't mean that you still can't ask to have one of those meetings convened where we all get together once a term and those goals and plans be really spelt out clearly. So this is not just your normal get together with your teachers. It's not just a meeting that you request that happens. This is formally documented within the school, and every term that should be reviewed and looked at. So if that is something that you would like to have developed for your child and you think is really, really important, do push to have that done. Do look up student support groups if you're in the Victorian system. I think they may be called something different, but certainly individual learning plans and individual education plans are something that most school systems have, even if they're state system, versus Catholic or independent as well. There'd be an equivalent version of that. Your child deserves to have the support at school, and it really does help to have it formalized in some sort of documentation that you can review and then sort of say, hey, we were working on these goals, or maybe the teacher has some concerns or some ideas for goals in this area, but you might have some goals in the area of the playground or socializing, or maybe it's eating their recess or lunch, or maybe it's about their emotion regulation skills that you want to be put into the plan as well. So yeah, definitely this is the time of year to be thinking about that, and not waiting until things become closer to a crisis point. So certainly thinking about how we can be on the front foot, how we can be as organised and proactive as possible, so that we can put in the supports and put in the plans that are going to mean our kids have the best year they possibly can, even with all the disruption and things that we can't control. We try to manage them as best we can. So let me know if you need more information about where to go or how to get that happening. Sometimes it can be tricky. Other times it's just a matter of mentioning that to the classroom teacher and saying, how can I get this happening? Who do I need to talk to? Or what's happening with it? Or are we having one? Just starting those conversations and see how you go with that. But certainly you can have them done regardless of whether they're funded. If they have additional needs and that's something that you kind of really think is important, and want that documented. So I really encourage you to do that if that's something that you think would be beneficial for your child. So yeah, so that's the beginning of the year, getting those plans in place, and having a really optimistic view of the rest of the year. And I wish you all the best with that, but please jump in and ask me any questions about that or how to have that going. There's for some people that I might have talked about this before, but a couple of years ago there was a big overview looking at the Students with Disabilities and Impairments program and a review of how to improve that. And there's a state autism strategy that details very clearly about how schools in Victoria, this is sort of this is the state system in particular, but how schools in Victoria need to improve and do better by our autistic and neurodivergent kids. So there is very detailed documentation about how and what that should look like. So I think really now is absolutely the time, if you're wanting that to be a reality for your child, jump on board and use that kind of momentum that's kind of around in the legislation, but in the community as well, when we kind of are not going to just be happy with the status quo. We're not going to be not wanting to make a fuss kind of thing. It can be done. Other people have already done all the research and the work's kind of there. It's just sometimes pulling that out and feeling confident enough to have those conversations and say, hey, I really want this for my child, and how can I have this happen? And I know that this is the pathway, or this is the information, and I'm going to keep asking. So yeah, have the confidence that you know your child best, and you are your child's best advocate when you're armed with the right information. So I encourage you to do that. So so the other thing from me is that today I got to catch up with my the Spectrum Steps group, and we had our first kind of debrief, which was really great to kind of hear from parents about how they're travelling and what they've got out of the program and information so far. So we'll be doing that for the next month, which is really, really great. I love hearing conversations and just listening to the support that I know is going to come out of these small kind of parent coaching groups. In a couple of weeks' time, I will be delivering my Tuning Into Kids and Tuning Into Teens on behalf of each, the agency that has supported me to do that. So I'll probably give you some updates about that. I don't know if the groups are full or not, but if you're interested at all, I'll tag you on each website, and you could reach out and see whether the groups are full. If you're interested at all in learning how to become an emotion coach, and depending on the age of your child, and depending if you meet their criteria, which was that you needed to have a child with an identified disability, I think is their funding criteria. But I can put that in the notes under this video. And the other thing is that, this afternoon I've been getting back into editing my book that has taken a bit of a hiatus over the summer period. So trying to get back into that and get motivation to finish off the sort of the first to second draft that it's in at the moment. And so I'll keep you updated with how that's been traveling as well. So again, the more when I get back to it, I kind of get really excited about the importance of getting it written, so I get it out to families, because it's sort of like a shortcut really to finding out about autism and what that is like in a really positive and affirming kind of way. So sort of the book that I wish all my families, sort of like before I met them, could have read, I suppose, to start them on that journey, as opposed to sometimes the journey that accidentally happens or often happens just because of the way we're set up in a very medicalised kind of and deficit-based kind of system. So yeah, anyway, so wish me luck with getting those edits done and fleshing out the bits that need to be expanded and editing the bits that I need to cut out. So I'm going to leave you, and I hope you enjoy your Friday afternoon, and I will be with you, in a week. I won't leave it too long this time. So take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.